Hey y'all! Welcome back to another installment of Moose Reads Good. I'm Kat, your clumsy, ever covered in gunk host. Today I've spilt coffee on myself, so I smell delightful. Anyway, we are continuing on with Starlight by Sacrifice Them to the Squid. It's a Tariel/Keeley fic set in the Hobbit universe, and it is just delightful. Anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy this fourth installment of Starlight by Sacrifice Them to the Squid. Fate has blessed Tariel. Somehow, desperation overcame lack of skill, and in the early dark of the morning, his breathing slows and color starts to slowly bleed back into his shadowed face. Her hands are Athelas fresh and tingling, her heart steady and calm. Her work isn't done. The blood that seeps is red, fresh and untainted, but the flesh remains torn. This part is familiar. She gently applies the last of the Athelas paste and winds a length of clean bandage around his leg. Tariel. It's barely more than an exhale of breath. Lie still, she says gently. You cannot be her, Keeley continues as if to himself. She is far away. It sounds like a prayer, a benediction, a soulful yearning to return to a barely remembered vision. She is far, far away from me. He smiles a little, softly confiding a tender secret. She walks in starlight in another world. I am right here, she wants to say, but his face crumples in grief. It was just a dream. Her breath catches as she feels the ghost of his fingertips on hers. Finally, he finds her eyes, the stranger, the not Tariel here at his side. His voice is almost plaintive. Do you think she could have loved me? Yes, but the words are stuck in her throat. Yes, I do. Keeley sleeps. Tariel busies herself with the menial task of cleaning, of dragging the orc bodies out to drop into the black water below and patching the damaged roof as best she can. As she reaches for a length of timber, a second pair of arms suddenly helps bear its weight. Thank you, the brother, the one called Feely, says hoarsely. Please, if we can ever repay you, anything you want, it's yours. Payment isn't needed, she says, a lump rising in her throat. I did what I could. Do you think she could have loved me? There is nothing she can want that she hasn't already been given. She wanted life for him, and now he's boneless and without pain in a deep, healing sleep. She wanted death to spare him, and somehow it has. She can't let herself name anything more, and even if she could, what she wants isn't something to be given. He is Starlight. She's seen it. She's always heard the name of the dwarves pronounced in the same tone as the orcs, distasteful and perverted, but nothing evil could claim the sweetness of his smile. He may be mortal and ephemeral, but his essence and hers are the same. Starlight. Oh, beautiful Starlight. The children have finally fallen asleep, curled tightly together in a corner of the kitchen like mice in a nest, the blankets around them soiled with orc blood. Come, lad, Owen says to Feely. Best get some rest. I'll keep watch. No, Tariel says. Please, both of you. I can watch over him. Feely's face is tight with fatigue and worry. Even through the cleanup, he's stayed within arm's reach of his brother, never once turning his back. Elves do not need much sleep, she says quietly. Please rest. He considers, and then settles himself in a chair near Keely's head. You'll wake me. I will, she promises, and he's out even as she speaks. The room is bathed in an exhausted quiet. Beneath the soft crackle of the hearth, a gentle susurrus of water whispers outside. She wonders where Legolas is, and chides herself without success for not following. They've put a pair of folded trousers behind his head as a pillow, what's left of the bedding draped over him like a shroud. She tugs the bench over and sits down beside him opposite his brother, tucking the blankets at his chin and smoothing the damp wisps of dark hair away from his face. Keely's eyelids flutter in response. Will you stay with me? He asks hoarsely. Yes. She tentatively reaches for his groping hand, threading her fingers through his own. Mortals want such constant physical contact. Even among her kind, the lesser, the unenlightened, touch isn't something casually done. And yet the dwarves seem to demand it, of each other and of everyone around them. As their fingers meet, he releases a slow breath, and something inside her comes unclenched. She could hold his hand forever. "Are you indeed Tariel?" he whispers. "I am." She retrieves a nearby cloth and dabs the sweat on his forehead. The delirium is slowly breaking, but his skin is still far too warm. "How have you come?" "We are in pursuit of orcs." There's something like a chuckle. "Only the orcs?" "You were lost in the river. I had no way to follow your path." "And yet you found me." "I am glad of it." A bit of a smile tugs at his mouth. "It is you." "You will live." Again, the sleepy smile. "Only if you will it." There's a long moment of calm silence, the nearest sound the rush of breath. She thinks he's fallen asleep when he turns his head towards hers. "Your hair, so like the fire moon. That's what I thought when we first met." In a sudden rush, she thinks she could kiss him, taking the soft curve of his lips in her own to savor. "You are so beautiful," he says. "Surely you know." "Only if you will it," she teases. "When I wake," he says quietly, "tell me, will you still remain?" She could take up her weapons and follow Legolas and the orcs. She could abide by his wishes and aid him in the cause that was hers to kindle. She should not linger here. Battle is raging somewhere, and she should be part of it. And yet, she doesn't answer. She just tucks his hand beneath her chin. An interminable time later, she feels him stir. "Is there water?" "Here." She rises and returns with a small ceramic mug of steaming broth, supporting his head and bringing the cup to his cracked lips. Almost immediately he grimaces. "Is that fish?" "This place is named Lake Town," she says dryly. "It's not bad." He takes another shaky, cautious sip. "When I said water, I didn't realize I was getting all that swam in it." "I believe there are onions in there as well." He takes a longer draught and then drops back onto his makeshift pillow, utterly spent. "You've never heard of onion fish?" "The curse on the runestone. Only that they are said to bring tears to all who hunt them." He coughs a small laugh. There are no bars separating them now. She sets the mug aside and, after a moment of hesitation, takes his hand back up in her own. He immediately responds with a weak, grateful pressure. "Did they make it?" It takes a moment to realize what he's talking about, and his face falls. "You don't know. What day is it, please?" "I can tell you by my own people's reckoning." He gives a single shake of his head. "Tell me this, then. When did my uncle leave?" She doesn't know that either. She doesn't know how far ahead the dwarves had been from the orcs, and until right now, she hadn't been certain they'd even left Lake Town. "They left you behind?" "I am begging you," he says. "You're an elf. Surely you must know when the moon was last full." "The afternoon just passed," she says. "It is still high." He relaxes and is silent for so long she thinks he's fallen back asleep. "Fili," he says hoarsely, casting suddenly shining eyes to his brother. Fili shifts in the chair but returns to snoring. "I stole this from him. He should be with the company." "He is here," she says. He seems to think otherwise. "He is wrong." The tears spill over, sliding from the corners of his eyes. "We grew up on tales of our father's halls. Our mother told us it was folly to come, but we would and still follow Thorn wherever he chooses to go. I can curse myself and grieve, but Fili is the heir. By all rights, he should be by Thorn's side." Fili is the heir. Kili is his brother. Thorn is their uncle. She had been stone blind. Somehow, she never made the connection, but now she does. This isn't just some dwarf from the wild. He is a prince of his people as much as Legolas is of hers. "Do you think she could have loved me?" "You will heal quickly," she hears herself say. "You will join them soon." It seems to be enough. Between the broth and the conversation, he's exhausted. He smiles over at her with half-lidded eyes, tears forgotten. "We will see it together." he whispers, giving her hand one final soft squeeze, and then he's asleep. She has been less interested in stories and songs than perhaps she should be. She came to Thranduil's care half wild with grief and rage, and it was many, many years before she could sit with herself in quiet. She's always preferred action to ballad, squirming when she should be still. She's seen only the practical use of old tales, feeling the horror of Ungoliant only as it could relate to spiders that crept into the kingdom. Lore is memory, and the only memory she wants is the clear, silent light of the stars. She's accepted at face value the declarations of her kin. Spiders are filth, orcs are evil, dwarves are greedy. As she watches Keely sleep, she wonders how wrong she's been. The dwarves are as Ollie made them. As the smith loves his work, so do his children, just as the children of Iluvatar love the night sky. If the elves cannot be blamed for the spiders that harry their borders, neither can the king under the mountain carry blame for the dragonfire at Erebor. Do you think she could have loved me? Perhaps the greed is misnamed. Perhaps it's an appetite, an insatiable desire to know all things, to feel them in the hand and learn their composition, taste, and smell. The dwarves covet gold, but deep underground there is no substance closer to the warmth of the sun. Her people revere the stars, adorning themselves with stones that echo their light and consider themselves the better. Are they not the same? She reaches for the cloth in the basin nearby, giving it a quick wring with a single hand and gently bringing it to the sweat still glistening on his forehead and neck and to his drying tears. His features are fine, but perhaps under their ridiculous mass of hair all dwarves are. She teased Legolas that Keely was tall, but among his people he is a young scion of the oldest lineage, and every feature shows it. He's a boy of his kind, barely out of adolescence, but she's not so old herself that she doesn't feel her blood stir. He is careless and kind, his grin easy and free, and in that brief moment of consciousness, he held her gaze as if she were Luthien herself. She wonders how her life would be if she chose him, if she took him and bound her life to his own. He is mortal, and the time would be short, so painfully short, but she's seen in the spark of his eyes that it would be vibrant. She would carry the ageless grief of the elves, but the trade would be full of life and passion. She's felt adrift for so long, she didn't realize how much she needed something solid. Thranduil had told her not to give Legolas hope when there was none. It had been such a shock, something she'd never even considered, and when she told Legolas himself, he burst out laughing. "Truly?" he managed. "Truly." "I am fond of you," he said, "but you are my sister in all but blood. Surely you must know that." Something relaxed deep inside her, a doubt planted by her king that she hadn't known how to face. "Indeed, Milan." He'd looked at her in consternation. "You believed him." "I fear all that he could take from me." "Tariel, he will take nothing from you. Besides," Legolas said, his eyes dancing, "I am too tall and too handsome for your taste." She relented at that, both out of relief and a sudden flush at being caught in a truth even she hadn't known. He missed nothing. "I am." And then gleefully, "Your secret's safe with me, and your dwarf." "He is not my dwarf," she tried. But that was even worse. "Count your chin hairs," he'd laughed as he skipped ahead. "I hear they like their women bearded." Alright everybody, that was Starlight, Chapter 4 by Sacrifice Them to the Squid. If you want to read more of her stuff, visit ao3.org. The link will be in the description that you can go directly to her page and view this story along with so many other ones that are just mwah, amazing. If you want to check out more episodes, just come back later this week. I'm sure I will have one or two, or maybe the rest of them up. I don't know yet. In the meantime, have a fantastic rest of your day.